Talking to some of the best names in contemporary Christian music. This is the Hope FM Artist Interview.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Artist Interview with me, Gordon T, your host here on Hope FM. I'm pleased to welcome to the show in just a moment, the Land of Colour. So you're touring with Rend Collective. Now, Rend Collective, I would say, are a pretty big name band, but you have toured with some other big names as well. Zach Williams, is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had Zach on the show. He's a lovely guy. And 10th Avenue North. Now, is the slanderous rumour that I've just invented that you're responsible for 10th Avenue North splitting up? Is that anything to do with you guys?
Yes, we hate them. We're enemies, and we wanted to see their demise.
Well, tick. So it's a real shame they've gone, but they were great. So, what are the things you've learned from each of these different bands, from Rend and from Zach and from 10th Avenue North, as you've toured with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we kind of owe a lot of our, the progress that we've made as a band to those bands that you mentioned, especially 10th Avenue North and Rend Collective. I think those two bands have really taken us under their wing, but also shared their platforms with us, which is amazing. And it's such a kingdom way of doing it. And instead of, trampling on other people to get up, it's actually raising people up, and they've raised us up and allowed us to get our music out there, which is, I just think, a wonderful picture of how Jesus would want us to do it, What we've learned from them, tons. I think it's probably more character stuff that we've seen, like these guys, that they're doing it because they love God, and their heart's in the right place. I think that the biggest thing that we've learned from them is just to be authentic and like walk your walk and not just sing songs on stage,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In fact, I don't want to talk too much about the other bands because I actually do want to focus on you guys. But when Rend were on stage, they did say something that I thought was just lovely. They said, "We're done with being cool." And I thought, what a great thing, because they just said, we don't care about being cool anymore. And they gave a message explaining God's love and inviting people to receive his love. And I just thought, this band are just so authentic with their faith and their love for Jesus. So if that sort of stuff is washing off on you guys, which I suspect you're saying it is, I just think you've got such a great future ahead in the things that you're doing. But you are touring as headlining yourselves, aren't you, in the States?
Yeah. We go out. Yeah.
How are you finding it?
It's quite fun. It's fun to play. These guys on this tour, we're able to play like 5 songs, which is quite a lot for an opening slot. Sometimes, it'll be 2 or 3 songs and 15 minutes, and then you got to get out of there. But we just enjoy playing and sharing our songs. So anytime we're able to headline and do our own show, we're really able to, spend more time telling stories about the songs and then play a bunch more songs. And then, so that's very fun. And then we can really connect and see the connection with the listeners and get to chat with them afterwards. It's been hard in the COVID world, not to be able to have that one-on-one communication with them, like after a show, and be hanging by the merch table and stuff. But we really enjoy that, just getting to chat with people and hear their stories. And so, yeah, it's quite fun.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, one of the things we love to do is just go out, into the lobby after the concert and just chat with people and just hear their stories and hear how a specific song spoke to them or confirmed something that God was telling them. That's really rewarding, and it's also another opportunity to do some ministry. Sometimes we land up, praying for people, and it's just cool. So, like Thomas said, it's been interesting not being able to do that. But I mean, I know God's still moving, and he's still hopefully using the songs, and people are going home with some encouragement,
Is there maybe a story of a time when you're on tour, you've just done a gig, and you're meeting with someone, and it's just one of those God moments? God does something special.
I feel like that happens a lot. I'm trying to think of a pinpointed story.
I'll toot Tommy's horn because he won't, but almost every show that we play, especially our headlining shows, like we'll be done and packed up, and Thomas has found like just some person who's kind of just a loner or someone that's down and out, and he's just chatting with them, praying with them. And I've loved just seeing his heart, and encourages me to do the same, and just find those the least of these, the people that are kind of maybe not accepted or cool in society, but those are the people that Jesus has a heart for, and we can be the Lord's hands and feet by just loving on those, you know.
Wow. Yeah, that's it's exactly what Jesus would be doing. Just giving lots of love to those who perhaps sometimes miss out and are considered unlovable. So that's cool. What about you, Tom? Anything specific?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of just some stories. I mean, is there anything that you can think of?
Yeah, there's a lot. There really is. I mean, we a lot of times we'll get emails or Instagram messages after our shows when people say, "Hey, you just spent some time praying for me or chatting with me, and it just meant so much." Or
I'm thinking of one now. When it was one of those nights in Canada, and this guy, actually, I think he was telling you, but with the jumpsuit, that he just said, "I just feel like I can be myself."
Yeah.
So there was this really, this is a fun one, but Gary, I think you've told it better. You know the details of it.
Well, he was just like, he came up to us, he was like in his work clothes, and he said, "Guys, I just somehow found myself at the show tonight." And he said, for the first time in a very long time, I felt like I could just be myself. It was quite profound what you were saying, and he obviously was just experiencing the presence of God, and he was just truly grateful for this space that we unknowingly had created for him, just to be a child, you know, and be in God's presence was cool.
That is very cool when God comes in and meets with people in those moments. So it just sounds like you do this all the time, but it's totally normal for you to be creating that space. So, and that's a lovely part of ministry off the back of beautiful music. So you got these other shows to go to, and then what's the plan straight after this? You got a break before you're then touring further in the US?
Yeah, so we do a lot of one-offs. I have a big family at home, 4 kids, and so Thomas and I, spoken about even before COVID, of just making it kind of sustainable as far as like, so we're not on the road 200 days a year, so we can still be, good husbands and dads. So it kind of works out pretty good that we kind of do our touring in season. So we'll take a break over the spring while Thomas is doing the spring tour with Mercy Me, and then kick it back up in the summer and maybe do something in the fall. Also, we've just finished recording a full Christmas album that we're going to be releasing this year. So we're kind of tentatively thinking about next year would be a good time to do some kind of Christmas tour once our Christmas album is out in the world.
Wow. Okay. That's something to look forward to. I didn't know you were going to have a Christmas album. So my Christmas is now that little bit brighter. So when's that going to be released?
November 19th is the release date.
Okay. So it's basically a month today from airing. So great news. You mentioned about having 4 kids. Sorry, Tommy, do you have kids?
My wife is pregnant right now with our first kid, who's due in April.
Oh, congratulations. So that's
you.
exciting. So you've got a little bit catching up to do on 4. Could I ask a question of Tommy? Tommy, is there something that you particularly admire about Gary?
Oh, yeah, there's lots.
It's going to need some time, though.
Yeah, let me think. Gary is one of the most bubbly, truly, honestly happy and sincere guy that I know, and it's really fun when I'm meeting people. And like on this tour, we met I flew out early with Rend, and then Gary came a couple days later, and I was able to just share about how the character of Gary is, and his demeanor on life, and the way that he just loves people, and he's just so kind and thoughtful and smiley and huggable, and I love sharing that with people.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Looking at Gary and having seen him on stage, I think he probably is quite huggable. I think that would be a warm, loving father's hug, which is a great thing. Gary, for you, looking at Tommy, Gary, what's the thing that most annoys you about Tommy?
You should have given me that one. That's great.
I cannot answer that.
That's a good one, Gordon.
You've been watching The Artist Interview. For the full podcast, click the links below or visit hopefm.com/The Artist Interview.